Okay, so let's test this herb in humans, and we'll do it in a double-blind, randomised, placebo-controlled trial, which is that gold standard trial.
Yep.
I've talked about it a lot.
How many people in the trial, Steve?
This trial had, and I'm looking through it now, 12-week, 60, 80 subjects.
That's
so
good.
80 people.
Good.
Yep.
Good size trial. Yep.
They took half of them, gave them Gynostemma, and the other half they gave a placebo.
Right.
Now, what they found was during the 12-week supplementation, the total abdominal fat area, the total fat area, body weight, percentage of body weight, and BMI were significantly decreased compared to the placebo group.
Yeah, right.
So it really just targeted their fat mass.
Wow.
Now, incredibly in this study, I've got a bit of a breakdown of how much it did it and all that sort of stuff. Now, I'll just focus on the fat. With just taking this herb with no exercise and compared to a placebo, it dropped over 1 kilogram of fat, not weight, fat, in 12 weeks.
Wow.
Now that's just taking the herb.
Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your host, Steve and Jeff. G'day, mate.
How are you, mate?
Mate, good. We're talking about I shouldn't say a new fat-burn ingredient, maybe a breakthrough. And I think these are the best-kept secrets of things that have actually been out for a while where there's been a bit of information. And the ingredient we're talking about today certainly has a lot of studies behind it.
Oh, that's its claim to fame. No, look, it's a great herb. I mean, you say nothing new under the sun. It was actually discovered by two independent countries, China and Japan.
Yeah.
So, they both discovered it around the 15th and 16th century.
Who was first?
China was.
Okay.
China was first.
Yeah. I mean, in Chinese law and Chinese herbal medicine, they have an unbelievable history, right? I mean, going back 5,000 years of recorded history,
Yep.
They weren't allowed to dissect and cut the body. So their understanding of pharmacology and pharmacokinetics,
pharmacokinetics,
is quite incredible because they were herbalists of the nth degree.
They were. That's all they had. They didn't have, honest medicines, but it was first described in 1406 in the Materia Medica, and it was actually used for, believe it or not, famine.
Famine.
And it basically, when you took this herb and you didn't eat, you could still thrive. And so that's a little bit of a hint of where we're heading.
That's interesting, Steve. There was a product a while ago, I think completely crap. They just had a nice marketing spiel. But they spoke about the fact that, and I like the theory, and this the best snake oil is always the ones with really good stories that you can go, I can buy into that. Yeah. So this was, if you starve, you can actually die, but you still have body fat left on your body, right?
Correct.
Because and this was saying if you restrict your calories but you eat this food, and it was actually a product, I looked at it, I couldn't work out how on earth it would actually stimulate the uncoupling of proteins, the release of fats into the bloodstream to use as a preferential source, which is the holy grail. I mean, the thing is that I think as far as fat loss is concerned, everybody wants it as quickly as possible with the least amount of effort.
Correct.
And this is why the whole concept of the magic bullet and that came about, which again, marketers exploited people's fears and weaknesses, and we've spoken about this. But Steve, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Is this leading down the pathway that it basically helps to liberate fat as a preferential source of fuel?
Yeah, absolutely it does. That's
because
exactly
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. It does, yeah. It works via two mechanisms,
Okay.
AMPK and SIRT1. And we can talk about them.
Well, let's talk about it. Now, we've done AMPK before. I mean, AMPK is an important physiological reaction in the body.
Sure.
Steve, again, let's go through the science really quickly. What does AMPK do?
Okay, AMPK liberates fat, so it's the metabolic activator for getting rid of fat out of fat cells into the body. It works like SIRT1, and we'll get to what that does.
Yep.
So AMPK is an amazing adenosine monophosphate kinase, for those who want to know the long word for it, but it's an enzyme that stimulates fat burning through your muscles and through normal metabolism. So it actually is...
So it burns fat in the mitochondria of the muscle.
Yes.
So it shuttles the fat in to use as an energy source, correct? Which is probably the basis, I guess, of where fasted cardio came in from.
Yeah, it did.
And then obviously from that, people understood that you could use certain ingredients to enhance the AMPK. That is the release of fats, thermogenesis, uncoupling of proteins, so that the body would then have this fuel source readily available. Now, peripheral thing, Steve, and I don't want to get too far off but we know that acetyl L-carnitine is absolutely critical for the oxidation of the fat cell in the mitochondria. That it effectively transports it into the mitochondria where it's oxidized and used for energy. Correct.
So
that's really a lot of people when they're doing fasted cardio. And the nice thing about it, Steve, that I like, and again, we probably need to dive into this as well too. Is that acetyl L-carnitine is bitter. Now, we say that people need to get more bitter notes into their diet, and that it's a good way to start the day is with oils and with bitter notes, correct?
Correct.
What else about the AMPK?
Look, there is a study where they've done it on rats to see how it works, because I've got two double-blind randomized placebo-controlled trials that we can talk about a bit later, showing that it does work. And what we need to know is how it works in the body. And you're absolutely right. That carnitine palmitoyltransferase is a magnificent way of burning fat. And in fact, this herb upregulates that enzyme as well.
So those two things could work really well together. So, and look, most people do have adequate supplies of
acetyl L-carnitine? Carnitine precursors?
Carnitine precursors in the body, right? But you can deplete them.
You can.
And so supplementing with that can also be, and look, it used to be called the Rolls Royce. I know that there's elemental carnitine, there's levo. What are the forms of carnitine?
Levocarnitine, it's just L-carnitine.
L-carnitine, yeah.
So there's acetyl L-carnitine, which can get into the brain as well as burning fat.
Yes.
There's carnitine tartrate, which is...
I like carnitine tartrate for testosterone production, actually, Steve, supporting testosterone. But in terms of the Rolls Royce of fat burners, currently the meta, Steve, is acetyl L-carnitine is considered to be the best because it does help with burning fat, but as you said, it crosses the blood-brain barrier, so it actually elevates mood and makes you actually feel a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. Now the enzyme acetyl carnitine palmitoyltransferase, which is the enzyme that gets fat into the mitochondria to be burned as energy, requires two things. It requires the acetyl L-carnitine or carnitine, and it requires stimulation for that enzyme to be upregulated. And this herb, Gynostemma, stimulates the enzyme.
Wow.
So it's beautiful. It's like it's
a marriage made in heaven.
Those two things combined are terrific. But this on its own has been found again in this particular study where they test, because you have to sacrifice the animal after you test how it works. So that's why we don't do it on humans.
Right.
Sacrificing humans is a bit.
No, we'll leave that to the Satanists.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
and to the government laboratories in Area 51.
Okay,
red pen that.
Exactly. Now, the other mechanisms how this works is that this herb also reduces triglycerides, total cholesterol, and LDL cholesterol without affecting the HDL cholesterol. So that means it reduces bad cholesterol without affecting the HDL. In other words, it gets the HDL, burns the fat off that, and turns it into the good cholesterol.
And this is the thing, isn't it? We've come so far from where we were in the 80s with the low-fat diets, the way to lose weight, and forget about your vitamin E, forget about your vitamin D, forget about any of those sorts of things, right? It's just like fat is bad. No, fat is good and bad, and depending on the ratios and what you've got. But that's interesting, Steve. So it's leaving the healthy cholesterol alone.
Exactly. It leaves the healthy cholesterol and lowers it. And the other part of the rat studies have found that the way that it burns fat, and we'll get to those studies to show you that it does burn fat, is it upregulates SIRT1 as well, which is the holy grail of fat loss. That's the holy grail.
Because, Steve, like, I'm not in the field anymore. I'm not as sharp as, up on the science, because I thought the science was settled. No, I'm just kidding. But obviously there's more stuff. So what's this process, SIRT1?
All right, SIRT1, there's things in the body called serolins, and there's about 8 of them. Now, SIRT1 was the first one.
What's a serolin? It sounds like that program, the Battlestar Galactica. What were those things called with the flashing red eye?
What were they called?
Cellulons, I think.
Yeah, that's right. There. And this is like a process. The serolins are activators of enzymes in the body. They're like master regulators. It's sort of like the pituitary gland for hormones. It regulates a whole lot of downstream things, and there's about 8 serolins. And by activating, some are good and some aren't good to activate. But SIRT1 activating is really good.
Right.
So if you can activate it, and we know from this particular study, and I'll read it.
So what does SIRT1 actually do?
Okay.
Like in the body, what does SIRT1 do? So we want this. We want this to happen, or upregulate at times of exercise, or just generally.
Yep. You upregulate it through exercise or through herbs. like Gynostemma.
Right.
So
And what does it do?
It actually does, and I'm going to put a graph up on for those people watching YouTube. There's the graph up there now, we hope.
Don't put it up for too long because you'll miss out on Steve and I's good
Exactly,
looks.
we're good-looking people. Basically, if you upregulate SIRT1, it actually decreases a thing called TNF-alpha, which is tumor necrosis factor alpha, which is an inflammatory chemical. So that's good. You want to downregulate that. You downregulate LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol, and that flow-on effects, it also flows on to reducing fat mass. It liberates fat mass, and it does that by increasing fatty acid oxidation in the muscles.
Wow.
So that's how it does it. Increases insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation, reduces oxidative stress, and increases muscle function and coordination.
You know, we used to sell a product, Steve, that also oxidized fats in the muscle. It was called Prototype 7 and then Prototype 8.
Correct, yeah.
Now, that had... I can't even remember the ingredient that was in there, Steve. Gosh, it shows you how
I had
long ago
lots
it
of
was.
things in there.
But people used to say that they used to find that they used to, or they felt that they were getting leaner and that they used to sweat a lot more as well too. Does this have a similar sort of
It has a
process?
thermogenic effect. Absolutely, it does. It also helps you with your liver function and eye function. Now, that's just a weird side effect of it, but it reduces the risk of cataracts, because cataracts is an inflammatory process.
Right.
So it's got, SIRT1 doesn't just burn fat and muscle, it does other effects in the body, beneficial effects.
Yeah, right.
The overall effects, and you can see by the graph there, is it increases health span and survival.
Wow.
So it's a great survival
So you don't
agent.
have to kill yourself to look good.
You don't
can
have to
actually
kill
support
yourself.
your health.
Exactly. Now all this stuff is done on animals, and we know now how it works.
Most gym rats are animals, aren't they?
No, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So it has these wonderful mechanisms of action. Now, this was published, and I'm going to read the study here. It's published in 2019. It was published in Nutrients, which is a very famous medical journal. So this is not just, guess how it works. So it's published in Nutrients, which is a very, very prestigious journal. And I guess the take-home message is, okay, the theory is good, it works in rats. Does it work in humans?
Yeah.
Because we need to treat them as well, not just rats. It'll lean your rat up, which is terrific. Which, you may have a fat rat. You don't want a fat rat. Who wants a fat rat?
No one.
No
Steve.
one.
No. Maybe a cat?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a beautiful looking cat. We can put a photo up of the cat. No, we don't do that because he's unique looking.
Flat face?
Flat face, yeah.
Yeah, I love flat face. He's got his own Instagram.
He's got his own Facebook.
Yeah, he just sits around the house pulling the most strangest faces, right?
He's got a very strange face. That's absolutely true.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Here you go, Grandad. Try these. You might actually like it.
Oh, thanks, dear. It is very pink, though. Oh, that's strong. Too sweet.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's not the worst drink, but it's still a bit pink for me.
It's all right, actually.
Yeah, I'm feeling good though from it. It makes me.
Actually, I don't mind it at all.
It's quite nice, actually. I love it.
Actually, it's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Huzzah!
Jolly good.
Huzzah!
Brilliant. Okay, so let's test this herb in humans, and we'll do it in a double-blind, randomised, placebo-controlled trial, which is that gold standard trial.
Yep.
We've talked about it a
How
lot.
many people in the trial, Steve?
This trial had, and I'm looking through it now, 12-week, 60, 80 subjects.
That's
so
good.
80 people.
Good,
Yep.
good size trial. Yep.
They took half of them, gave them Gynostemma, and the other half they gave a placebo.
Right.
Now, what they found was during the 12-week supplementation, the total abdominal fat area, the total fat area, body weight, percentage of body weight, and BMI were significantly decreased compared to the placebo group.
Yeah, right.
So it really just targeted their fat mass.
Wow.
Now, incredibly in this study, I've got a bit of a breakdown of how much it did it and all that sort of stuff. Now, I'll just focus on the fat. With just taking this herb with no exercise and compared to a placebo, it dropped over 1 kilogram of fat, not weight, fat, in 12 weeks.
Wow.
Now, that's just taking the herb.
Wow.
On its own, one herb. The placebo group that were doing the exact same sort of thing slightly put on a little bit of fat. So, and remember, they didn't know they were taking the placebo, and neither did the people giving to them. So after 12 weeks, they lost over 1 kilogram of fat just on the herb alone.
That's great.
It's incredible. Of course, it improved their blood lipids as well. But, that's a little side effect. But it reduced the waist circumference and hip circumference significantly. Now, when I say significantly, remember that p-value that we've gone through?
Yeah. Do you want to explain again for people that are listening the p-value?
P-value to be, when I say the word significant in science, it has to be less than 0.05. In other words, 5% chance that this could have happened by just chance.
Yep.
Yeah, random.
Yep.
The p-value for this was less than 0.0001.
Wow.
So
it's no chance of it being a chance.
No chance of it being really... No chance of this being a fluke.
Yeah.
Because of the 20 people and the accurate measurements. Because you can accurately measure waist circumference and weight and fat mass in those DEXA machines, and which is how they did it.
Yeah.
So an incredible study.
Yeah, it's great.
And that's not the best study on this.
Okay, and I'll maybe pigeonhole it, Stephen. We can come back and talk to it. But they said significant, so almost like a standout to be on the abdominal fat.
Abdominal fat.
Because it's funny, right? Because people always say, okay, how do I target the fat on my stomach?
Yeah, exactly.
And they do, can I do crunches? No, of course you can't. But most people say, well, when you're dieting, you can't choose where you target that fat from. It just goes. Now, again, we created Subcut back in the day, which is banned, so we can talk about it now, Steve. So we're not selling it anymore, which you could actually do it because you would actually target those areas through localized, putting ingredients through the skin to liberate fat. But that was the only thing I thought of that could actually target a specific area of fat. So you're saying that Gynostemma seems to predominantly choose or be more effective in areas of the abdomen than in other areas?
Correct. And there actually is a further study which elaborates a bit further on that. And so absolutely incredible. So it does target the fat that you want to get rid of.
Well, some people do. Yeah. I mean, some people want the buttocks and thighs, Steve.
Oh yeah,
and we know that it still works on that, but it seems to have an affinity with the fat in the waist.
Yeah, that's what that study did.
Do you want to get into that now, or do you want to come back to that?
Oh no, we'll get to that.
Why? Why, Steve? Why is there an affinity with the? I mean, fat cells are fat cells, right?
They are.
So therefore, typically the thought is that you're in calorie deficit, you're exercising. You can't spot reduce through diet or exercise.
Yeah, that's right.
Physical intervention through liposuction, like medical, or cryofreezing and that sort of stuff, and or a transdermal product which focuses on a specific area because it's absorbing at the site. Yeah. Because typically it has poor blood flow and all the rest of it. And when this is a long question, but was it visceral fat, like fat around the organs, or was it subcutaneous abdominal fat, which is the stuff you can see that covers, the flab that covers up the abs?
It worked on both areas, depending if you're a male or a female.
So there was difference between men and women.
There was. Now that study, they just measured the waist. And the waist, and that was published in Obesity 2014. So it's a mainstream medical journal, not a...
It's old news, Steve.
Old news.
Just showing you.
No. We've got new news here from 2021.
Ooh.
So what they did was they did another study, and they did it a little bit longer, 6 weeks, and they used dual X-ray to assess body composition, weight and measurements, and blood tests and everything, inflammatory markers and all safety markers. So they really got a bit carried away on this particular study, and they took 117 women and men, and they measured them differently.
117 women and men, like 117 people, some were women, some were men. Okay, yep.
Now, I'm going to show you the overall, and then we're going to go back to the minutiae of it here. But let's have a look at this graph, and again, we'll put it up for those people watching. There's a graph that you can see there, the placebo group. There was no weight, just slight weight gain. And look at the drop away of the graph. I should show you the graph.
Yes, you should.
I mean, have a look at that. I mean, that's on the screen now. So if you're only listening to this, you've got to be watching this too, because you can see the graph.
Well,
look
Steve,
at that.
Not everybody wants to look upon our beauty, Steve. I don't blame you for listening. As my wife says, I've got a face for the radio for the podcast. Hey, can you just read out that graph for people that aren't?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. For those who are listening, there was two graphs here, and the top one is weight change. Okay, which is, We'll get to the fat loss in a sec. And what they found was that the weight change, if you imagine at baseline, they're all the same weight and there was 0, and you watch the weight drop away every, 5 weeks, for the Gynostemma group just dropped away compared to the placebo group, which stayed level and slightly went up.
Right.
So it just dropped away like a stone.
So weight, Steve, to be devil's advocate here, could be water, so hydration. It could be glycogen. And it could be fat.
Could be fat.
So it could be any of those things.
Okay,
right?
it could be, and then except we're going to put another graph up now of body fat change, and I'll show you for radio.
Yeah.
It's the one down there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. It's that's why you should be watching this. Now you can see the body fat change for the placebo group was 0.
Yep.
But the body fat group for the Gynostemma group lost 1 kilogram of fat mass.
Wow.
So pure fat mass. Again, this is a placebo.
So no exercise.
No exercise.
Just no change to their diet. It was just. So I mean,
random.
realistically, this is the kind of thing that I always preached against when I was selling supplements: is that there is no miracle bullet.
Yeah.
But obviously, this shows to have a significant impact on fat.
Yeah, I don't think this is miracle. I mean, I think actually there's. I mean, you could argue it's a miracle, but there's biochemistry behind it.
Oh, of course, Steve. But what I mean by is that this is the sort of thing that people are chasing.
Yeah.
It would be interesting as well too, and I don't know if you've got any study. And again, I don't want to get things out of turn, Steve, and we can come back to it if we have. If there was a significant amplification of fat loss in people that trained, so trained individuals versus non-trained, because
I'd love to see that.
So you haven't got that information.
Not that one because this is a placebo-controlled.
I know, I appreciate that, but this is what I'm saying. If it's if it's like that's a factor of effectively of people who are putting on weight. So it's almost immeasurable to calculate how more effective it is than placebo.
Exactly. I mean, if you exercise...
Because if they'd have lost 5 grams and then they lost a kilo, then you could work out how many thousands of times more effective it was. But because they've put on weight, it's infinitely more effective.
Infinitely more, absolutely, than the other guys. Now, we know that this will access fat and increase muscle oxidation. So if you're exercising, it's going to amplify this.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
I wish I knew how much. Oh. It's just because when you do a trial, you only want to have one variable.
Yes, I know you do, Steve.
So,
that's right.
But so, I mean, it'd be great to see with that. I mean, you can only imagine it'd be vastly better. I mean, you've got to remember, exercise to a weight loss program is only going to help.
And again, what you want to do is you want to stack as many of these synergistic amplifiers as possible.
Yes.
And that's the thing as well too, right? Yeah. So for people who are trying to lose weight, they go, okay, first thing I've got to tidy up my diet. And that absolutely should be the first thing that anybody does is fix up your diet, eat more protein, eat less sugars, eat more regularly, make sure you're getting enough calories and you're not getting too many. Again, it's all about that. And I think everybody who's listening to this probably already understands that concept. And if you don't, go and get a diet coach or a personal trainer that can actually help you with that. The second thing is obviously exercise.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that I love, and I always put it third, is good quality ingredients that you can also add to your regime at the right time, at the right dose, that suits you. And that can be a synergistic effect. So it's not 1 + 1 equals plus 1 equals 3. It's like 1 times, essentially like 10 times 10 times. It's like, the synergistic effects is like 300 as opposed to 3,
Exactly. And this particular herb will give you synergy because there's another study that we can talk about, which is actually exercise endurance. The other use of this herb is it enables you to exercise for longer.
Get out.
No, it's great.
Really?
Yep.
And this comes back to the starvation thing that people... Okay.
Because if you're accessing body fat, which this is, as you can see by these studies...
Well, okay.
You can exercise longer.
For people listening, and Steve, you can get into this a little bit more as well too. For every gram of body fat that you burn, you're getting 9 calories.
9 calories.
For every gram of blood glucose or glycogen that you're burning, you're only getting 4.
Yeah.
And, wow, this will work for anyone, I appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
But for people on a ketogenic diet as well too.
Oh.
I just wonder what sort of amplification that this would have as well too, because it's going to fast track your body getting into ketosis.
Yeah. Because you're burning fat with it. Yeah. And
if it's upregulating your body's response to burning fat, because a lot of people have trouble getting into ketosis because the body keeps going back to its old energy source, right?
Correct.
And look, people may love or just not love keto, and if you haven't tried it and you're frustrated with your weight gain, it could be. It works for me great. Tony can't do it, so everybody's different. You've got to find what works for you. But yeah, for people that want to try ketosis, getting some Gynostemma could be a brilliant little. How would you say, enabler
Yes.
to get you into ketosis faster.
Yes.
Because there's a brain fog that happens with ketosis diets where the body's trying to use glycogen, trying to use blood glucose. There isn't any. It's going, does not compute. And then all of a sudden it goes, oh, I know, I'll use fat instead.
Yeah.
And then you feel good again, you know?
Because you've got unlimited fat on your body, even you and I who are lean.
How's this? My son,
Super
right? I
lean.
keep talking about my son.
Yes, speaking of super lean.
Well, he's just about caught me in height. He's literally, he's like growing. He grew, I think, a centimetre in the last 6 weeks. Like, he just keeps growing, right?
Yeah.
He's 13. He's 186 centimetres tall, right, at 13.
Yeah.
He's built like a beanpole. He's 52 kilos because he just keeps going up. He's got what has he got? He's got 3.8 kilos of body fat.
Yeah, I believe that. He's so lean.
He is lean. He doesn't need any of this. Anyway.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Look, the thing I love about this study, and this is probably what I think the best thing about it. Now, this study is, again, it's published, it's peer reviewed.
So this is on the endurance factor?
Yep. And yes, endurance and fat loss.
Yeah.
There's two parts to this. This is published in the Journal of Human Nutrition Dietetics, which is in Australia.
Yeah.
This was done in the University of Queensland.
Oh.
Just over there.
Wow.
So this is not some far-flung, and there was also, part of it was done at University of Sydney as well. So we're talking...
Oh, well, that's not quite as good. But
Oh, yeah, no.
no, we're in Queensland. We're just joking. Sydney's good.
So within, I'll talk about two bits, which is endurance and a further fat loss breakdown of this study. So the endurance, the way you test endurance, and people aren't going to like this, but this is the way you do it, unfortunately, because you've got to get people or animals to go to complete exhaustion.
I know how they do it, Steve. They throw them into a bowl of water, right? And then they make them swim to the point where then they eventually give up and drown. But they save them and they give them mouth-to-mouth and they resuscitate them.
They live a happily ever after.
Yeah, those little rats,
They don't get sacrificed after trials,
They
never.
don't, no. I know Tony would be very upset if that was happening, so...
But that's how you know...
Well, they hang them on a little cross upside down or something.
Exactly.
The Satanists.
It's terrible.
I knew it.
But that's how they know. So it improves the exhaustion, time to exhaustion.
Right.
But we know that from 1409 or whenever it was, when the people used to work in the fields, have this herb and be able to work the whole day. And they felt very, and I don't know if I can say this word because it might be beeped out. You ready for this one?
I think Joe Rogan got censored over this word.
No, it's not that.
Well, okay.
Are you ready for this? This one. They call it the herb of immortality.
Holy cow.
I know.
I want some.
I know.
Where do I get it? Take my money now, Steve.
That's the title of the book.
What?
I mean, I didn't make it up, and that's what.
No, it's not. The title is Tiagulan.
Oh, that's the name of the herb.
Oh.
That's just the Chinese name of the herb.
Oh, Tiagulan.
Yeah.
That's the name of that's Gynostemma.
Yeah. I'm using Latin terms because that's all.
I much prefer to say Gynostemma. That's a mouthful. That
I
one.
know.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
So it's called the herb of beep, which I don't think we're allowed to say, but that's.
No, you can say it.
You can say?
Yeah, you can say it.
They call it the herb of immortality.
I mean, they might be wrong. I mean, I think everyone that's taken it has probably lived, Steve. I mean, like...
Yes, that's true. There's a reason behind the biochemical one we'll get to later, which is incredible.
Oh, I'm really interested
But
in
I
that.
want to talk to you about the fat thing.
Yeah.
What they found was that in men, they lost fat from the visceral fat, which is the fat in the belly. This is the same
I wish
study.
I had some so that I could use this supplement to...
Yeah, I know.
I'm getting some, Steve.
Oh, I think I am a bit too visceral.
Yeah, how many K's did you run this morning?
12 and a half.
Yeah, and what percent?
I didn't tell you I trained.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I can tell, you lean bastard. And what sort of body fat have you got on you at the moment, Steve?
I haven't measured myself for yonks.
If you're any more than around about 10% body fat, I'd be amazed.
I still want to take some Gynostemma because it's good for you in so many other ways.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But what they found in the women group, that the women that had excessive, what they termed gyno fat, like
breast tissue?
No, around the hips and the thighs, they had the fat around
why
there.
do they call that gyno fat? I mean, again, from a bodybuilder, gyno was always breast tissue, right? Gynecomastia, yeah.
No, the reason why they call it gyno fat is because visceral fat has different receptors on it to the fat around the buttocks and that sort of thing. They have more estrogen receptors from the fat around not around your waist, but the visceral fat.
Okay.
So the subcutaneous fat has estrogen receptors, the visceral fat has androgen receptors. And that
makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why women get sometimes plump around the derriere. I'm trying to think of a word we could say.
Sophisticated dairy, yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
And they get a bit plump around.
Oh, yes. Come over for some tea and sit on your derriere.
I want to read this actual. This is word for word. You don't usually see this from studies, but it's so important. Basically, this showed that males in the group that took the Gynostemma had a significant reduction in visceral fat compared to males in the placebo group, and females taking Gynostemma group had a significant reduction in gynoid fat compared to the placebo group. That's word for word.
Wow.
That's from that study from the University of
So
Sydney.
guys and girls, both good.
Both good for different reasons.
Yeah.
And you've got to remember this has other effects on other body parts, which we're going to talk about later. And you can see this actually helps your hormones as well.
Get out.
It does. And
there's more to this than I thought, Steve. This truly is a transformer. There's more than meets the eye.
It is. And one of it's...
That's really bad. I'm going to get sued by Mattel now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Actually, no. I'm going to charge them money for product placement.
Probably the most amazing thing about this herb, and there's so many, is its fact that it's a really good adaptogen.
There's a word that I haven't heard so much lately, because I think it got kind of a bit poo-pooed. And I know that Western or pharmaceutical hate the word adaptogen.
They don't have
like
any.
it.
Pharmaceuticals
Force you to do one thing.
It does.
Yeah.
So if you normalise the hormones, you're going to lose excess hormonal fat.
Yeah.
If you talk to bodybuilders, and I don't know if you've tried this before, but you've ever taken aromatase inhibitors?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they inhibit estrogen, and estrogen puts on fat, visceral fat around, or subcutaneous fat around the body.
Yep.
So it really trims you down.
Yeah, when I was back in the day, it was all, using tamoxifen, Nolvadex, and what's the other one that was used for breast cancer?
Arimidex.
Arimidex,
yeah.
Which was considered to be the gold standard. But all of these things are chemical straitjackets, and while they may work in moderation for short terms off script, and I'm certainly not recommending that, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
You do have to be careful because you can get things out of balance. Whereas if you're using natural estrogen, which is why, Steve, we created ATP, because we wanted to find natural herbs. I love these podcasts. I love doing them because I love what nature has to offer. We've lost the mystery of food, and herbal knowledge, I think, is evaporating because it's being subjugated to the thing of myths, Steve, and less people are practicing it because unfortunately there is one curriculum and one way of doing things, which I think is going away from the essence of what healers for centuries have used with great benefit.
Exactly.
So I love the study, and I love the deep dives into this sort of stuff.
Deep dive. And a lot of people, when we talk about adaptogens, may have heard of Panax ginseng. Do you think, we've heard of ginseng? We've heard of that, haven't we? You think most of the listeners?
Siberian. Yeah. There's different types, right?
There is. And the Panax ginseng is a terrific herb.
Korean ginseng?
It is Korean ginseng.
Yeah.
Panax ginseng is Korean ginseng.
Yeah.
So that's got 28 saponins.
28 saponins.
Which are normalising chemicals on the body.
Yeah.
And guess how much this one has? 174. and they're quite similar to Panax ginseng. In fact, 9 are identical.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
How have I never heard of this before, Steve? I mean, I've been in the industry for 20 years. I heard of Gynostemma as being, I think, effective for fat loss, but I didn't really know how. It's just another ingredient that people throw into the mix.
Well, the 2021 study, I think, has clenched it. Was that was a repeat of the earlier study in obesity, and it was done in Australia, and it showed that massive weight loss with those amazing graphs that we put up earlier.
Wow.
But that's great. But you can lose weight by chopping it up. We want to know if it's healthy. And Gynostemma normalises the body. It normalises stress and all that sort of stuff as well. So it's a great adaptogen like Panax ginseng.
Wow.
And another thing it does, and that's why it's called the herb of immortality, is its main claim
Which
to
is
fame.
not. It's like saying, Steve, that people referred to me as, the extremely well-hung stallion of love, right? And it may actually be me that's referring to myself as that in the third person.
Stallion of love.
Well,
some people
but it may not be true, right? And just because somebody says something, if I call you a dickhead, it doesn't actually mean that you. You probably are, but
accurate,
you know what I mean. It doesn't. It does. So anyway, people can call anything. Like I call my wife my princess all the time.
Yeah.
But she's not actually a princess.
Oh, she's sweet.
How do you know?
Well, she's nice.
She's actually not that sweet.
Oh, I talked to her this morning.
She's got a bit of a hard edge to her. That one.
Okay.
She'll crush you, Steve.
You know we're recording this.
Yeah, I know. She doesn't listen to it anyway. So.
Oh, I hope not.
She doesn't listen to me when I'm at home. Why would she put on a podcast and listen to me? Hey, babe, did you catch the latest podcast? What do you think?
What do you think?
Profit is without honour in their hometown, I say.
That's right. Oh, gee. I was gonna give you an old reference for a 70s song. You know, some people call me the gangster of love.
Oh, yeah.
You know, some people call me
Maurice.
Yes.
Yeah.
You knew it.
Yeah. Well, some people, yeah. Gangster of love. Actually, I don't mind that one. Yeah.
Or a space cowboy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, great song, that. For those who are young listening, sorry. But the reason why they call this the herb of immortality is because it increases SOD in your body. Do you know what SOD is? SOD?
I think that the Lord destroyed a town over that, didn't he? Didn't it? Like fire and brimstone?
Well, this is the good SOD.
Oh.
It's called superoxide dismutase.
I have heard of
There we go.
I haven't heard of SOD, but I've heard of superoxide dismutase.
Exactly.
And I don't even really know what it is, but I've heard you guys talk about it.
Superoxide dismutase is one of the chief antioxidants.
Antioxidants, yeah.
Now, if you're watching YouTube now, we're going to put up an amazing graph of how the level of SOD in your body correlates to your longevity.
Right.
And I'm going to show you.
Does it have anything to do with telomeres, Steve?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can
Because,
see,
that's the holy grail, isn't it, supposedly?
It is. Telomeres are magnificent. You can see there a graph there that shows, and I'm just going to show you there that
Wow.
the more SOD you've got, the longer you live. Now, humans have got a lot of SOD,
Yeah.
and we live a long time, but there is one animal that lives a lot longer than us. What is it?
I've seen one of those, Steve.
Have you?
In the zoo. In fact, there was one at Steve Irwin's
Yeah.
zoo that they actually took, I think that was alive when Darwin was roaming around the Galapagos
In
Islands.
1850s.
Yes, and he only just passed away, I think, a couple of years ago. Did you hear about that?
Oh, the turtle dog.
Yeah. What did they say? How old did they
Galapagos.
say? Did he say he was about 270, 280 years old or
Oh,
something?
wow.
Yeah. So he was still at Australia Zoo, and I went and saw it, and it's just like, I cannot believe that animal is, nearly 3 centuries. It was, 2.5 centuries
Yeah,
old.
it's
when I saw it.
incredible.
It's crazy.
Well, they live longer than us, and they've got more SOD than us.
Well, really?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Well, because they are just long-lived animals, and I
wonder what's in their diet, though. I wonder what's in the Galapagos Islands.
Well-
Maybe we should eat turtles. I mean, I don't know. I've heard they turn into a nice soup.
I've got a
Are
better
you
way.
allowed to eat turtles?
I doubt
It's my second favourite type of meat. Ask me what my favourite type of meat is, Steve.
It's not dolphin, is it?
No.
No, okay.
No, it's penguin.
Oh, okay.
They're
right.
delicious.
Well,
Fry 'em up.
I've got a better way to eat.
Stackers. Put them on a little stick.
Poor penguin.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a better way to increase SOD that doesn't result in killing animals.
Okay.
Do you know how to increase it?
Gynostemma?
Gynostemma dramatically increases SOD in the body.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible, isn't it?
It is.
And we know in humans that the more SOD you got, the longer you live. Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible. And another. So if you want to increase SOD,
Honestly, Steve, I'm a bit blown away because
Yeah.
I thought this was all going to be just about fat loss and the fact that you can obviously, it has an affinity with visceral fat around the abs for men.
Yep.
And I guess for women as well
And the
too.
gyno fat. It does waste for both.
Waste for both, yeah,
Yeah.
but also what else for women?
It does the gyno fat. Now, the gyno fat was excessive. I'll call them. What's the love handles? What's the politically correct term?
Banana rolls. Is that,
Banana rolls,
I don't know.
saddlebags.
Saddlebags.
Is that the political? What's the right
muffin
way to-
tops. Sorry.
Something like all that. Those sort of.
It's all food related.
Yeah,
It sounds
I know.
fantastic, right?
It's, I
well,
know.
saddlebags. I haven't eaten them before, but I'd give them a try.
Well, it's those ones. It gets rid of that.
Right.
Around the stuff that.
Well, I mean, like
women have.
men have had to put up with spare tires for ages, and I think it's
Yeah.
it's nice to be descriptive.
It is. So short of eating tortoises, Gynostemma increases
You
SOD.
may get arrested
Yeah.
in Australia if you eat a tortoise. Just letting you know.
The other chief antioxidant in the body is glutathione peroxidase.
Yep.
And that enzyme is also increased with Gynostemma.
Wow.
So it's the
Gee, it really is pretty awesome.
it's the king of antioxidants because it upregulates those two enzymes.
Yeah.
Now, you've probably heard of zinc as an antioxidant.
Yep.
Superoxide dismutase is upregulated by zinc and copper, and manganese. Selenium upregulates glutathione, but Gynostemma upregulates all of it because it stimulates the enzyme production of it. And again, this is published in the literature.
Wow.
So it's really, look, great for fat loss, but great for antioxidant as well. And probably the other main claim to fame is Gynostemma is it boosts the immune system.
Yeah.
So
well, I kind of figured that if it's working on these things, it would have to boost the immune system
Yeah,
as well.
now the immune system works by spitting free radicals at things often. It engulfs things, it does other things, but it spits free radicals. So if you can protect the body from antioxidants, then the free radicals that are spat out from the immune system are preserved. So the immune system become preserved. So they actually don't die during the attack.
And again, I always think when I hear about inflammation, about that and free radicals and what have you, I always think of that Time magazine article that was basically saying that, inflammation is the... I forget what it said on the cover, but it was basically...
Inflammaging, I think it said on the cover.
Yeah, inflammaging, and that's true. So, anti-aging, keeping strong and fit, antioxidants. And look, we are assaulted, I reckon now, Stephen, it would be interesting to have a look at exactly... Go back 100 years, 120 years, 130 years ago, people are in nature, they're surrounded by trees, they're out in the sun getting their vitamin D. Now we are bombarded with radio waves, we've got microwaves, we've got 4G, 5G, we've got all the equipment here. We're sitting underneath fluoro lighting. We've got xenoestrogens in our water table and our food. We're using microwaves. Like I heard that there was something like 200 unique chemicals that the average person actually has in their body that we didn't have 100 years ago, just through the stuff that we're consuming and absorbing through our environment. Now you've got jet airliners going overhead. You've got, we've got all of these pollutants and toxins and xenoestrogens and stuff that we're all the time. You would think that antioxidants should be an absolute priority for anybody in today's society.
Absolutely, yeah. And the first thing is you've got to eat them through your fruits and vegetables.
Of course, and fresh and local, if you possibly can.
Exactly.
Because, again, straight out of the ground. And even the farmers as well, too. You see a lot of them rotating crops, not using pesticides by actually planting different crops alongside. It keeps certain bugs away. I was fascinated when Tony really got into it, a bit of a green thumb. And there's so much that you can achieve, again, through nature. Using bloody huge amounts of, pesticides and herbicides and things like that. It's just not good for us.
It's not. And so eating a healthy diet is the best way. Now Gynostemma boosts the antioxidant capacity, so it's terrific. Now, you mentioned chemicals, which is a brilliant segue, because Gynostemma also improves liver and kidney function for detoxification.
Get out.
I know.
Is there anything this thing doesn't do?
Well, it doesn't cook breakfast.
Wow.
But I wish it did.
Yeah.
Incredible. No, it does. A problem with some sort of, I'll just generalise now to fat burners.
Yeah.
And, you remember the days of bodybuilding, there were some that were, we won't go into detail. We've done podcasts on it.
The ones that worked, Steve, were the old ECA stack. And even the good old bodybuilders back in the day as, ephedrine, caffeine, aspirin. It just worked, right? And it was really simple. And, the aspirin or white willow bark would thin the blood, which would increase the half-life of the caffeine. And then the ephedrine was the decoupling. And caffeine is brilliant. Even alone, caffeine is really, really good.
Yeah, it's good for fat loss.
What were you going to say?
Well, this actually, like as you know, aspirin is toxic for the kidneys.
Yeah.
And any of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, that's one of the side effects. In fact, there's an old one called ketorolac, which now the TGA said you can't take for more than 6 days, or you get nephrotoxicity or kidney toxicity.
Wow.
So they're look, short term, you take them.
Sure.
But you've got to be careful of them.
Yeah.
But this one actually improves kidney function, improves liver function.
Wow.
So, yes, it's great, look, for fat burning. If you just want to take it for that, that's fantastic. But your liver's going to love you for it.
Yeah.
And your antioxidants and your immune system.
So burns fat, high in antioxidants, good for your kidneys, good for your liver.
Yep. Improves athletic performance is one of its great claims to fame.
We didn't really talk much about the way that it actually improves athletic performance and endurance. How?
Okay. The way it does it is because it upregulates oxidation of fat in the muscles.
Yep.
And that's via SIRT1. And
So it just gives you more energy.
It's sort of like saying that, like, let's say you've got, your car's got an engine. It's a second fuel supply for your engine. So it burns the fuel quicker, but you'll be able to go a lot longer. because
Right.
there's another tank basically.
Yeah.
So it liberates fat from the fat cells and gives it to the muscles for energy.
Yeah.
So you actually can exercise for a lot longer.
And you're burning exactly what it is. Because most of the
Yeah.
time when you're jumping on the treadmill, especially if you're doing it in the afternoon or the
Yeah.
evening or what have you, you're burning any of the blood glucose left up in your body.
Correct.
Then you might be burning a little bit of glycogen.
Yeah.
Then if you're lucky, you're burning some body fat. But it's normally the afterburn we talk about, Steve,
Yeah.
more than the actual act of the exercise itself. So again, this first thing in the morning.
Oh, I mean, especially with carnitine or caffeine or something like that, if this herb, which it does, it upregulates SIRT1, which increases fatty acid oxidation in the things and reduces fat mass. And that's how SIRT1s work. Activating SIRT1 does by a few things, can do it.
Yep.
Berberine and a few other things that activates AMPK as well.
Yep.
I know. But this has other, and I'm going to call
Berberine tastes like terrible.
It's the worst thing. So basically, if this, if you can take this while you're exercising, it will enhance your fat burning dramatically. Because even without exercise, you lose a kilogram.
Okay, so question with regards to fat loss. So a guy typically experience good abdominal fat loss.
Yep.
Yep. I mean everywhere,
Yeah.
but
Around the waist, absolutely.
And for females,
It will burn the fat.
yep. What areas? What areas specifically?
Around the waist.
Yes.
We know from one study, and
Yep.
from another study, the saddlebags, what they call gynofat,
Right.
which is where the hormone. 'cause
That's
they
the
got-
androgen-based sort of
Well,
receptors.
that's the estrogen-based ones.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the visceral fat is estrogen-based.
Okay, so I'm not 100%. I'm a bit confused, Steve.
That's all right.
So in men, it's going to work on the gut, and females, it's going to work on saddlebags and stomach.
Yes.
Okay.
And the fat you can grab. So it works on both types of fat. In women, it works more on the saddlebags.
Yeah.
And in men, it works more on the visceral fat because it normalizes the hormones in the body.
Wow.
So you get actually a healthy hormonal response.
And so saddlebags exactly, Steve, using
the side
just
of
so we
the
know.
upper thighs.
So the side of the upper thigh, so just slightly sort of down from the kidneys a little bit, that sort of area there, or
down on the side of the legs there.
on the side of the legs.
yeah,
so
that's where we-
below the hip bone.
Below the hip bone.
Yep. So that's yeah.
It removes that part.
Right. So where your holsters, where you put your six shooters.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
This is why I was trying to think of the polite way of saying saddlebags.
Yeah.
That area.
Yeah, as opposed to the fat that some women can get, which is at the top of their hips.
Yep, it'll
which
burn
is the
that.
banana rolls.
It'll burn the banana rolls as well.
Right.
So it does waist and those sort of areas.
Sorry. Like Americans are probably listening to this going, what is a saddlebag and what is a banana roll?
I only know the bad word for the saddlebags, which we can't really. Or can we say it? You ready with the pen? A lot of women, you term them. He's got the thing out. Thunder thighs.
Oh yeah. No, that's
all
fine.
right?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
But I think okay. So the banana roll is
Yep.
above the hip.
Yep.
Right, and then the saddlebag is where your six shooter is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where a lot of women get lipo.
Yep.
Lipo responds well for that.
Well, that's got to be of interest to some of the ladies out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
Does it do anything? I mean, with guys, typically, most guys, if you ask them, it's either visceral or subcutaneous fat on the gut, right?
Yeah.
That's where, I mean, guys can be even quite lean, but still have stuff there. So, I don't know, where else do guys put fat on?
Above
Bit of
the
chest.
hips at the back.
Oh,
there,
yeah, they can a little bit, yeah,
over
there.
the kidney area there.
Yeah, would it work on that or
It
not?
would, yeah, because
Okay.
that's the estrogen fat. It's
Okay.
like taking the Arimidex.
Yeah, and what
It's-
about for females? What about on the glutes, Steve? Would it do
Yep,
much?
that's gyno fat.
Okay.
It can reduce the glutes if you've got excessive fat that area.
Right.
They did it on lean people and that didn't affect them.
Well, if they're lean, they probably do.
Yeah. So if you've got a lot of fat, it works well. But if you're lean, it doesn't shrink your ass to nothing.
Right.
So good advantage there.
Yeah.
Now, probably my favourite aspect of the Gynostemma. Yeah, here we go.
Sorry.
Yeah, how we talk
I can just
about
see
this.
you at the. I could just see you at the gym with your headband on and your
Yep.
and your bootylicious shorts. You got to stop wearing that, Steve. It's just
the girls
he's
love
got
it.
like 80s cut off
I know.
sleeves. You know, like he spikes his hair up with a bit of gel.
Gel? Yeah,
It's
sure.
just it's very cool
It's
hanging out with you
gorgeous.
at the gym.
Absolutely.
You get so many looks.
I know, the girls love it.
Yeah.
They'll get all these stares. I don't know whether they're good or bad. Okay, but let's say you're a man in his 50s.
Thankfully not.
Yeah. This improves nitric oxide formation in a lot of parts of the body.
Wow.
That's the other effect of this thing.
Wow.
So it reduces blood pressure. Let's start with the...
Ooh.
Yeah. So they've done studies on people with blood pressure, and it reduces blood pressure as well. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, and you're right.
Wow. There you
It
go.
does help.
It does with the old standing to attention.
It does.
Yeah.
It does help with that.
Yeah.
So they use that a lot in China for that.
Right.
Because men don't care about anything else, do they?
Apparently not. Apparently not.
And so it works great for the cardiovascular system.
Wow.
So it reduces the cholesterols. It helps with the blood flow, the nitric oxide,
Yeah.
to the heart as
Yeah.
well as other areas,
Yeah.
as we talked about.
Yeah.
And it reduces blood pressure.
But this is miracle ingredients,
It
Steve.
is. So it's great for your heart. So if you're going to exercise, which is great for your heart, I mean, this stuff will only help.
Yeah.
I mean, the tricky part comes down to, I guess, with the studies with these, and I did look online. I have seen it out there in the marketplace, and I've seen it dosed at about 0.5 gram per day. You really need, for all these sort of effects that they've tested,
Yeah.
about 3 grams.
Yeah. Right.
And that's what you need to. So if you're looking for it, you might see it in a capsule and it's 0.5 gram. Take 6 of them, or something like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's what you need to do.
Well, Steve, man, seriously, that's pretty mind-blowing, all
Yeah.
that. You've covered off. So this is definitely an ingredient that you're going to want to use if you're looking to lose body fat. But if you're looking for benefits for kidney, for liver, for antioxidants, for other areas for men, this is a really cool ingredient.
Oh, and they've written books on one herb, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And it's just incredible. What I love about it is it's antioxidant.
Yeah.
It stimulates the enzymes that make antioxidants.
Yeah.
Which is where it gets its name from.
Wow.
Because of course it's been taken for centuries.
Yep.
Yes, it's safe. The studies show it's safe for
Yep.
weeks, but if you've taken it for centuries,
Yep.
you'll soon figure
You'd
out
be
that
pretty
it's-
old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really working if you're
I
taking
know.
it for centuries, right?
It's funny because one of the surveys they did in Chinese men that were over 100, a lot of them were using this herb.
Wow.
So,
Correlation, causation.
Yeah, I know.
But
I don't know,
but still, it's interesting.
It does work on a lot of areas in the body.
Put it this way: there doesn't seem to be too many negatives with this one, Steve.
No, there is. I mean, yes. Look, if you want to just take it to make your booty look better, fine. But as long as you know with this other stuff,
I do.
Yeah, well, I do too. I mean, it's got great side effects because it improves the health of the body.
Nice.
So like the old fat burners of ephedrine had side effects.
Yeah.
This has.
Is that where you were going with that, man?
Yeah.
You get a long segue to get back here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can use dodgy drugs to burn fat or healthy herbs to lose
Support,
fat.
yeah.
And this should be the future of enhanced. And again, you correctly pointed out before, diet, exercise first and second.
Yep.
Third, you can take supplements that help you with your process of diet and exercise.
Yep.
It's not a substitute for. Yes, the studies didn't, you still lose it without it, but I wouldn't recommend you do that.
No.
I recommend you do it with exercise.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And we've always said that, you've got to get a priority straight. And well, the old saying was there's no such thing as a magic bullet. We might have to change that phrase. It's certainly, you got to look after yourself first, do the foundations right.
Yep.
So anyway,
I love
Steve,
it.
that's all the time that we've got time for today, but that was really fascinating. That was
Great.
actually really, really cool. There's a lot more to that than what I thought. So, yeah.
But, when the suggestion came over, I said, "Oh, you beauty! I know some studies on that. I knew about these obesity studies."
Yeah.
And then I went, "Holy mackerel, sod!"
What did you call me?
Superoxide dismutase
okay.
and glutathione peroxidase.
Yeah.
I mean, upregulating that, the immune system, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, all the benefits on the cardiovascular system. It's just incredible.
I was wondering where I'd heard that word sod before.
Oh, yeah.
My father used to use it all the time. He used to go, "You dirty sod." And I said, "Dad, well, you're a sod.
Yeah.
I'll sod it."
Oh, I've heard that.
And I'm like, because he was saying you're a sodomite.
Oh.
Yeah. See, my dad was born in the 1920s, right? So
Yeah.
the vernacular was very different back then. But yeah, that's where I was going, yeah, you take that back. I'll punch you right in the chin.
Well, I wasn't born in the 1920s.
Yeah.
Close.
No, you were born in the 1820s.
Yeah, 1820s.
Yeah, there we go, Steve. Anyway, guys.
I remember that tortoise when it was born too.
Yeah. You helped him hatch, didn't you?
Yeah.
Little guy. Well, thanks, Steve.
Yeah,
That was a
great
good
herb.
one. Good
Love
one.
it.
Love it. All right, and look, guys, we'll be back with some more next week. We're going to be doing some interviews soon. I think we've got Disco Doug coming on.
Yes.
It's not Disco Doug, but Doug the Doug of Doug's listening. We got Doug, who's a cosmetic doctor.
Yep.
And we've got some other cool interviews
Got
and
some great stuff coming up.
Yeah, we do. We've got some really cool stuff coming. So look, thanks guys for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with some more.
Okay, see you later, guys.
Bye. Oh,
That's
Steve.
worse. Can we beat that out?
Yeah.
No, here we go.
You're not beeping this out. I love that. I love it.
Oh no.
Yeah. It kind of.
Yeah. That's right. You've covered it.
Come at me. They can't because they're going to dob themselves in if they do. I mean, if I say someone's a wanker, can I say wanker?
Is that allowed?
No, if I say someone's a wanker,
Yeah.
am I going to get guys right? Oh, how dare you
Suggest that I
wanker. You go blind.
What did they say about that? There was a study on that, and there was 99% of men identified that they masturbated, and I think 1% were lying. You know, I think that the 1% error thing. I'm sure there was a 1% error in that. So, or it was an amazing study. It was a survey. It wasn't a study. It was a survey.
I don't know what sort of science you're looking at, Steve, but I'm into the serious science of fat loss. I know how to pronounce Steve. I know how to pronounce it. I'll come at you. Okay, you ready?